Hi all, in this video I'm going to go through the second assignment and I'm going to show you guys how to create the solution. For sake of time saving, I already created the ASP part. So if we go to source, you can stop and check out the code. Basically what we have is we have an image with the URL that comes from the actual assignment with this URL for the logo part. And then we have a drop down of city where the shipment is going to come from, a drop down for where it's going to go to. So the first one, you do need to enable auto post back, so it automatically generates the items in the to drop down list. So I added these items here, as you can see, Chicago, Seattle. So the values I added has lowercase and the text shows up uppercase. So for Chicago, I'm going to just fix this. Okay. Alright, now each of these items is of list item type. A list item has two important variables, fields. One is text, the other one is value. Text is how it shows up in the list, and the value is the actual value. So when if an item is selected in the list, and if you return drop-down list that selected a value, that variable actually is referring to the value of the item. Okay. Now then we have a package rate, which is a text box with a numeric text mode. Okay, and this one will be for the package rate, and then we have a shipment type, which is a standard and express, 2 items. So all the checkbox lists, radio button list, drop down list, list box, these all have list item type. All their items are actually list item type. So you can edit items same way here. Okay, you can see the values lowercase standard for the standard. And if you actually look at the, for example, let's look at this one's code. Let's go to source. If you look at the drop down, you will see that the list items has an attribute value, and what's in between opening and closing tags is the text value. Okay, so if you want to add a value when you're writing your ASP code, then you have to add a value attribute and then put a string here. That's going to be the value. Okay, now first thing we have to figure out is to, when the user chooses one city here, this drop down list has to be populated, and we're going to do that in the drop down list selected index change event. So you can, if you don't have that, you can click on this, go to events, Thunderbolt, and depending on which way you chose, you can enter it here. You can double click or double click on top of it, and then it's going to take you there, right? It's going to create this event handler. So first thing is we need to clear the items in the second drop down, cities, 2 cities, right? Because if you change your mind and choose different city multiple times, then it's going to keep populating the drop down too. So I'm going to clear, not the count, but clear, so that it actually clears everything and then repopulates it. And then we're gonna get the value of the chosen item, right? And the way you get it is drop down list 1 dot selected value. Now I'm going to go through each item in the drop down list 1, so the from city drop down, and if it's not the selected value, I'm going to add them to the drop down list 2's items collection for integer I equals 0. Remember, the items is a collection, and you can actually use reach items within that items collection like an array using square brackets and an index. Drop down list 1 dot items dot count. So this gives you the number of items, I plus plus. Now here I'm going to check whether the value is equal to the selected value. If drop down list 1 items I dot value, remember this is a list item type. Alright, let me write it here. List item. This is a class. This is a list item type. It has a text and it has a value. Now if you actually use toString here, it also gives you the value. Okay, so but I'm gonna go with the value, and I'm gonna compare to if this is the selected value or not. Value, right, which is the selected value. So if it's not equal to the selected value, if it's not equal to the selected value, then add it to the second drop down. So how do I add it? I'm just gonna use the drop down items.add method. Now, but before I add it, what am I going to add? Okay, so I want to create a new list item and add that one. Right, so I'm going to create a new list item. Let's say li equals new list item. Now, if you look at the list item overloads, there's several overloads, right? The one I'm going to do is the third one. So it takes two string variables. The first one is a string. The second one is the value, right? But where did they come from? You can, several ways you can do it. First, you can define some item. Let's say text equals, right, let's do item text, and do it, just get this items.text field .text, right? Or you can yeah, you can do this way, item value, and here you just return the value, and you can just add item text and item value. Okay, this does the job, and then you can add the list item here. Right, this is one way to go. And remember, this is also a list item type, so another thing you can do is maybe, yeah, you can do is list item li equals new list item. Actually, not new list item, but drop down list 1 I dot items I, because this is also list item, and then you can just add this one, right? So either way, we're creating a new list item and then adding that list item to the drop down list items. So this is the two cities, right? So this is the first thing. Let's check it out. So there's nothing here. I choose New York. When I choose New York, you can go to Chicago or Seattle. Or if I choose Seattle, you can go to Chicago or New York. So it works. Now, the next thing is we need to read the package weight. We need to get the shipment type, and then we're going to calculate and print the estimated cost. So let's read the package weight. But here's the thing. All these things needs to be done within an event handler, but which event handler? Right, I don't have a button here that I can put to convert, just calculate things. You could do that, but for now it makes sense to put the calculations inside the index changed event handler for the radio button, because by the time you check this out, you have all these information, and if you don't have information, yes, it wouldn't work, but that's for the next we're going to cover that in the future using validators. So we validate the user input on the browser before you actually send anything back to the server. For now, you can assume that the user is actually entering complete information. So by the time he gets here, this index change, he chooses one of these, he's gonna have the from city to city package weight, and then as soon as you get this standard or express shipment, whichever his preference, you can calculate the cost. So double click, and it's gonna create a button, radio button list selected and exchanged event handler. So here I'm gonna define some variables, such as the from city, and I'm going to read this from the drop down list one dot selected value string to city. So this is the second drop down dot selected value, and then I'm gonna have several double variables such as city rate. So this will decide how much from which city. Double weight rate, and the shipment rate, you know, because depending on express or standard you have a different variable. And finally I'm going to have an estimated cost. Now first let's do the cities. So I'm going to hard code this. From city is Chicago, and to city is New York, or the other way around, right? So I'm going to just, or this is New York and this is Chicago. In that case, the city rate is 2. Else if, we can copy and paste this to save some time. From city is Chicago, to city is Seattle, or from city is Seattle and to city is Chicago. In that case, city rate is 2.5. Right. Else if from city is New York and to city is Seattle. Now the other way around, actually here. And in that case the city rate is 3.5. So we got the city rate. Now we're gonna get the weight rate. Weight rate equals. Now since this text box, which its ID is text box weight, okay, I changed its ID, it's text box weight. This is a numeric text box, so people can't enter alphabetical characters, right? They can only put numbers. Now I know that my input string is going to be in the correct format. That's why I can use convert to double, and I can just read the value text weight. So I can just read its value, actually not to string, I meant text, and convert it to double, because if this was not a input, it wasn't the numeric character, we wouldn't be able to convert it this way. Okay, and then we would have to do try catch exception handling. The weight is fine. Now let's get the radio buttons. Let's read from the radio buttons. Selected value. So if it's a standard shipment, then shipment rate will be, let's see, in the assignment it says, yeah, I'm still here. Oh, standard shipment you have to multiply by 3, or if it's express you have to do it by 6. So 3. Else if radio button one that's selected value. This is actually, this has to be value, not index, equals express, then the shipment rate will be 6. Okay. Now we have shipment rate, weight rate, seater rate, and we can calculate the estimated cost. Estimated cost will be weight rate multiplied by shipment rate multiplied by city rate. And once you have it, you can just print it in this text box, which has an ID of text cost. So text cost dot text equals estimated cost dot toString. Now let's run this. So I'm going to go from New York to Chicago. My package weight is going to be 5. And I'm going to do standard shipment. So let's calculate. New York to Chicago, 2 multiplied by 5 and multiplied by standard, which is 3, 30. So it's correct. If I do express, it's 60 because we multiply by 6.